Ja, hallo und herzlich willkommen. Ich habe heute jemanden Spezielles hier, der kommt aus den Philippinen, hat jetzt einen langen Flug hinter sich, um uns hier in Berlin zu besuchen. Er selber hat eine Gesangskarriere und er hat auch einige YouTube-Kanäle, wie zum Beispiel den AntsCanada. Und somit begrüße ich Mikey Bustos.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Martin.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Thank you
me
for
too.
having me.
Yeah, I have one question. So we have here also some formicariums.
Yes.
I have to show you some. What is your feedback about this?
You know, going around your store, Martin, and Ant Store in general, it just really blew my mind. First of all, I'm a big fan of Ant Store because back when I first started keeping ants, I saw your setups and they just blew my mind. And I was also part of your forum. So I really learned about keeping ants from Ant Store forums.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's been a dream of mine to come here, and your products have really blown my mind. It's just really great stuff, high quality equipment, and it really helps with promoting the hobby, which I really like.
Thank you. And I must say, I like to visit your videos and on YouTube. I think you are the master for the ants on YouTube about this.
Okay, see these ants, right? They chew the leaves up, and then they create these gardens of fungus, and they eat the fungus. They don't eat the plants. Now, there are weeds that eat the fungus, but they battle these weeds through a bacteria that lives like in their head. So they have like an anti-weeding system.
Wow.
Yeah, and like the weed, this fungus and the weeds and the bacteria in their head and these ants are all found only in nature in these nests.
How did you have time for your ants if you have so many works with your songs and with your videos?
Well, at first it was very hard because, as you know, keeping ants sometimes demands a lot of time. But the great thing about where I live is there are a lot of people who like to keep ants. So I just have managed to expand my team. So I've got people who help me take care of my ants. Recently we've brought on editors to help with editing my videos. And my team has grown over time to help me handle the different tasks. But in terms of the AntsCanada channel, I'm usually there for all levels. So from the conceptualizing to the filming, to the directing, to writing, and even the storyboarding and the soundtracking, which I love to do. Essentially, it's I'm there at all levels, but we have many people handling the work.
What is that? You're just carrying something?
I don't know. Oh yeah, see, they're gonna chew that up and they're gonna make these mushrooms. And if this fungus were to die, the whole colony will die, because that's that's their main source of food. Do they eat insects as well?
Insects?
Yeah.
No.
Just
Only
exclusively the
vegetarian. Wow. So you collected lots of ants, for example, the yellow crazy ant, or also the Asian wafer ants, fire ants. So what is the biggest part? Was heißt Herausforderung?
Biggest challenge.
Challenge. What is the biggest challenge?
Of keeping different kinds of ants. I think the biggest challenge for keeping a variety of ants is being able to give them a setup that best suits their lifestyle. Because I found some ants do better in some setups and some ants do better in other setups. And then at the same time, you have ants that are okay with cooler temperatures and ants that are better in warmer temperatures. I personally keep ants that are from my area, that I've caught from outside. So generally they like the same, they're kept in the same room, so same temperature. But again, the hardest part was really finding the perfect setup for them, because I've also lost colonies in the past due to the setup not being best for them, or even outside ants breaking in.
Yeah.
And destroying the colony. I've had that several times happen to me, and mites as well. One of the hardest parts about keeping ants where I live is it's the tropics. So we have a lot of invasive ants that can come into the house and eat the ants. A lot of my setups are not open because we have lizards that come in and enter the setups and eat the ants. So it's those kind of challenges that I've had to deal with.
Which ant species you will like to debone?
Me, myself? I think if I were to be an ant species, I would love to be a weaver ant queen.
Really?
Yes, I would love to be a weaver ant queen, Ecophilas magdina queen, because one, I find they're the most beautiful queen ant ever. The queen ants in the Philippines, when they have the nuptial flights of that species, are just beautiful. They range from yellow to green to even greenish blue. To brown and sometimes a mix
Different
of everything.
colors, yes.
Such beautiful colors. So I would love to be a beautiful weaver ant queen. And second of all, I love that they live in the trees. I love that they're arboreal. So they have these awesome, naturally humidified nests, right? And so I personally think I would be happy
you're
as a
very
weaver
high.
ant queen.
Yeah, you were high and you
Yeah,
can
you're high.
look down, no?
Exactly. We have the best view. we have like a rooftop condo. Penthouse. Oh, and look at the polymorphism. Look at, oh, there's the queen. Look at, see, they have like super majors. Which one? The one with wings? That's a male right there. Oh, yeah, they're super majors. They're like specialized workers with like huge heads. Oh my God, they're so awesome. And what kind of, is this, what kind of dirt is this?
This is a special material of resin basic.
So it's solid and they chew through it? Is that how that works? Or?
Yes.
Wow, unbelievable.
If you keep ants, you told before, you will have also lots of trial and error process.
Yes.
And so tell me, how was your biggest error and how you fix it?
Yes, I think my biggest mistake was when I had a very big mite infestation. It was one of my biggest ant colonies. It was Anopolepis gracilis, yellow crazy ants. And they had a mite attack, the bad kind, because there's a kind that's not so bad, but these were the bad kinds. And the colony was in the millions, and it was reduced to just a couple hundred. And the way I managed to save them was I had to get a special predatory mite that I collected from beetles.
Oh.
Yeah, and I introduced them to the setup, and I created this really big video on how I was able to eradicate the mites using this predatory hypoaspis mite, they're called. And that cured a small population of the yellow crazy ants, and now they're starting to recover. That was the biggest and hardest challenge I had to deal with. Wow, this is crazy. So, okay, so to be honest, at AntsCanada, my store, we try to promote keeping of local ants, but this is fantastic. So I can't get over all the different species you guys have.
Yeah, so you're trying to do, you use like spiders.
Yes.
To not overpopulate the colonies.
Yep.
So which ant type would you think
Works
the
best. Yeah, that was a tricky balance because you don't want to have an animal that will eat too many ants. You kind of have to find the perfect balance. So far, the best balance I found is with trapjaw ants, Odontomachus. I have a colony of about maybe 1,000 workers.
Oh, really?
And 10 microfrogs that specialize in eating ants. And so I had to do some calculations. So usually the frogs will eat about maybe 8 ants a night. And so it's a matter of finding that balance. I find the larger ants are best to be kept with other species. And again, you can't introduce a predator when the colony is still growing. They have to be established.
So what is the most important if you start with put material in the inside of the formicarium?
Yes. Well, for me, there are several aspects that make a good formicarium. I think for me, the top 3 are moisture. Moisture is very important for an ant colony. You want to create some kind of moisture gradient, so a dry area and a wet area for the ants so that the ants can kind of adjust and hydro-regulate because they have different needs, as you know. The brood sometimes have different requirements depending on what stage of they're at. So larvae and eggs usually I find are kept in one area, and brood tend to be kept in, the pupae usually are kept somewhere else. So moisture, very important. And also heat. A lot of ants require heat. So a lot of my ants in the Philippines, they die if it's too cold, you know, so I can't turn on air conditioning. Usually the ant room is warm. But if you live in a temperate region like Germany, sometimes heating is important. And the third for me is visibility and observability, because that's part of the joy of keeping ants, right? Watching them. So a nice clear setup like this, actually. I love the Ant Store setups, Ant Cube products, because visibility is excellent, which I love. I'm a big fan of that. So moisture, heating, and visibility.
Okay, thank you. What do you think is, if you have a person where we'll start with the ant keeping, which information can you give him?
Advice. So I guess my advice for those keeping ants would be to learn as you go. Don't be afraid of making mistakes, because like anyone entering any hobby, you'll make mistakes and sometimes you'll lose colonies, but it's all part of the learning process, making mistakes, as you know. So yeah, but I do urge people to get into ant keeping, because I think it's a great hobby. It's educational. It's very relevant to a lot of the issues nowadays, the environment, ecology. And I think if a person keeps ants when they're young, a lot of the skills required for keeping ants can be applied to many industries, from engineering to even doctors, lawyers even, urban planning. So many industries of work require the same skills that are used in ant keeping. So I think young people should definitely start keeping ants. This would be something for like leafcutter ants, or this setup?
For example, yes, this is set up for leafcutter ants. This is starter kit for leafcutter ants.
I see.
But you can connect it later with higher size. Here it's good if you have long leaves. Yeah, you can put yours inside. So what you are planning for the future with your ants and with your formicariums and AntsCanada? What is the future idea?
Well, for sure, we're definitely going to keep making ant videos, because I think a lot of people just naturally love ants, but they don't know it, you know, until they see the ants and how they live. So my goal with ant keeping has always been to promote ecological awareness, biology, they call it biological literacy. When people realize that, hey, these ants are very much like people, then they don't see them so much as pests, right?
Yes.
And they become inspired. And so I love doing the AntsCanada channel. As well, we love creating ant keeping equipment, just like you guys here at Ant Store. We hope to broaden our platforms and make information on keeping ants much more accessible to those who want to enter the hobby.
Yes, that's right. I learn also, if we have sometimes children here, also they say first, ants, I don't like, and I kill them. But then we give the information, and this is the queen, this is the mom, and the children. So we got a good feedback that the people were see all the formicariums and the life of the ants, change the mindset and think, it's a very good kind, and it's very interesting.
Yes, definitely. They're the perfect society. Yes. It's not plaster, it's like a harder kind, no?
No, it's plaster.
It's plaster of Paris? Plaster of Paris?
Gips. I don't know what's...
gypsum.
Gypsum.
Yeah. Oh, I see. And it doesn't mold fast, right?
Yes. How many years you start with the ant keeping?
Yeah, well, I remember my first ant farm was when I was a kid. I just went out into the park and dug up a formica colony, and then I kept them in a jar with some sand, and that was my very first ant farm. I must have been maybe 10 or 11 years old. But then I started to get into serious ant keeping after watching some of the German videos that were circulating on YouTube at the time, around 2009. And I realized, wow, the possibilities for keeping ants are enormous here in Europe. And I was new to serious pro ant keeping. And that's really when I started. And that's also when I started AntsCanada, so that I could help promote it to audiences over in North America and show them the amazing possibilities of keeping ants.
What is the inspiration for you?
Well, Ant Store. These guys are legendary, definitely big inspiration. I also am big fans of the major players in myrmecology. So, of course, Dr. Brian Fisher from California Academy of Sciences, they inspire me as well, their work. Even biologists like nature photographer Alex Wild. He photographs amazing,
very beautiful, amazing pictures. Yes.
Amazing photos. And he's been kind enough to license his photographs for our literature and our videos at AntsCanada. So big fan of them. Of course, Dr. Bugs. Also known as Mark Moffat, very excellent, and he's a very extreme guy, but big fan of him. And really, I'm just inspired by anyone who is doing anything in the name of ant love. Those are my biggest inspirations.
Okay. Lots of customers ask for 3D printing, so we have produced this.
Oh, this is 3D printed.
Yes.
Ah, I see.
Yes, it's a little bit mixed with acrylic.
Yeah, I've seen some of your videos. You create excellent tutorials and display of your products, and I think that's important for people who want to get into the hobby.
How big is the place for your ants in your room?
Yes, my ant room is currently quite small because I just live in a condo, but I'm currently building a farm out in the countryside in the Philippines. And we have a 2-story ant room dedicated for that. So I hope to expand my setups and create big setups like you guys have here at Ant Store.
But with the temperature, I think it's good if you have not so big place.
Yes. Smaller rooms are easier to control.
Yes,
correct, the temperature. And my ant room is so hot. I'm always sweating buckets filming these ants. Yeah,
okay.
It's really, really hot. Usually, sometimes it's about 37 degrees Celsius to sometimes 40 in there. Yeah.
Well, what do you think about Germany or European ant species? And do you have also experiments about this ant species?
I actually saw an ant on the way here on the steps. It was really cool. I hope to explore more of the species you have here. And I understand it's nuptial flight season for some species here, is it not?
Last week.
Last week. Lasius?
Yes.
Yeah. Lasius niger? Excellent. Yeah, I hope to see Lasius niger in person because in Toronto, when I was living there in Canada, we don't have that species. We have Lasius neo-niger, which is a closely related species, but I hope to actually see in person Lasius niger because I find they're very beautiful. And if I were to be living in Europe, I would want to keep a Lasius niger colony. Yeah, simple and very common ant, yes, but still, if you have a big colony, it's very impressive. Let's see if we can find the queen. This is like a Where's Waldo. You need to find the queen somewhere. There's a big major there. Wow. The AntsCanada store just sells equipment and literature and t-shirts and that kind of thing. But in terms of the ants, we have this section on our website called the Global Ant Nursery, which is kind of like, I would call it the Uber of ants. So essentially, if you catch ants and you're a keeper, you can sell. So we basically direct all our customers to that part of the website and they can find local ant keepers to buy colonies from. And that way, it also gives people the opportunity to earn money doing something that they love, especially kids, they love that. And then it also helps build the community within the local place that they live. And so we have that. So we don't sell ant colonies at AntsCanada currently. We just direct them to that part of the website, the Global Ant Nursery. GAN project is what it's called.
Okay. Yeah, many thanks for all the information.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Ja, so auch also von meiner Seite, also vielen Dank auf jeden Fall, dass er jetzt auch so dabei war. And I have a small present for you.
Oh.
Yes, we will give you one moment.
Oh, thank you. Oh, goodies. Oh, thank you.
Just a little bit careful with this one.
Okay, let's open this. Let's open the small one.
You can
first.
open it.
Yeah. This is Christmas. It's early. Let's see. Oh, awesome. Oh my goodness. Awesome. That's great. It's got the AntsCanada logo
It's a
there.
special edition,
And
limited
Ant
edition.
Limited edition. This is really neat. I look forward to using this for one of my colonies. Excellent. Thank you so much, Ant Store. Okay, let's see what's in here. Oh, wow. Awesome. An acrylic one. This is great.
You are in Berlin, so you have a Berlin Formicarium.
Thank you. This is a great for memories. I will never forget this visit. And you know, Martin, I made sure to plan my trip here in Europe so that I would visit Berlin just to visit this store and to meet you and to meet the entire team. What you guys are doing is excellent, and you have my full support and all of the AntsCanada team supporting you guys. Thank you so much.
Ja, thank you
Yeah.
too. Okay.
Thank you.
Ja, Leute, also dann, ich hoffe, es war interessant für euch. Ich bedanke mich fürs Zuschauen.